Welcome to the Elk Talk Podcast with Randy Newberg and Corey Jacobsen. Presented by the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
The goal is, what little you and I know about elk hunting, we share with people.
I've got an elk bugling. It's like 120 yards away. What do I do? First off, the thought would never cross my mind when an elk's bugling 120 yards away to call anybody on a cell phone.
All elk?
All the time? Only elk?
Only elk.
Well, it's us having conversations, so we usually go down some rabbit holes, but
If you hunt with Corey Jacobsen, you will find the landscape is full of rabbit holes. We're just going to make this up as we go.
and you look at it like, oh, that's a target-rich environment. But if you're trying to single one out, a solo target there is much easier to go into than a big group.
We record everything, so there's no BS and no lying, no faking it with us.
Did we hit the record
I
button?
thought I forgot to hit the record button. If you want to know something about elk hunting, this probably isn't the podcast to listen to. Should we give them a list of all the other podcasts where they might learn something? So, Corey accuses me of not having good notes. So, folks, we were going to use my legs for the white balance, but we decided to use white paper for white balance. So, all right. Where are we, Corey? Do we want to be formal in this?
Of course we want to be formal.
Okay. Hey, folks, I'm Randy Newberg, and this is...
Corey Jacobsen, and this is...
Dirk Durham.
And there we go. We're
Right.
at... Where are we at? Total Archery Challenge?
Total Archery Challenge, Big Sky, Montana.
Windy Big Sky, Montana. So if you hear
Yeah.
a bunch of static and background, it's not because we don't know what we're doing. We proved that many
Well, I was
times
going to
already.
say, we can't claim that one anymore.
No. So the reality of this is we thought we'd have Dirk on here because Dirk has hunted with you probably more than anyone, Corey.
Probably so.
And I think people have already tired of my stories about hunting with you. So we really want the dirt. I mean, the idea is, folks, when this is all done, Corey will have no partnerships left in the sponsorship world.
And if you were watching this on YouTube and seeing the video, you'll see they've strategically placed me directly in the middle so I can't get away when they start telling lies.
Yep.
Yeah, you can watch him squirm really good.
Yeah. So did you tell Dirk we want to know his 5 mistakes?
I'll tell you Dirk's 5 mistakes.
All right.
I'll fill everybody in on Dirk's 5 mistakes if he's going to...
Have you read the comments of the podcast that went up on Friday?
No, what happened?
Crazy.
Uh-oh.
I mean, like, everybody's like, we want to know more mistakes. So every guest we have for about the next year,
We're going to ask them their top 5 mistakes.
top 5 mistakes.
Perfect. Dirk, fire away.
So
Only 5. I only get 5.
you only get 5, but before you do that, we got to talk about the fact that the title sponsor of this podcast is
The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
whose booth is right here behind us. Even though you see all that Mountain Op stuff, this is the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation booth over here. And their mission, you always ask me their mission.
Yeah, what
right?
is their mission, Randy?
Their mission is to ensure the future of elk, other wildlife,
their habitat, and our hunting heritage.
There you go.
I'm getting it
It's a
down.
mouthful.
There you go. And if you aren't a member, some people even said after they did comments, after hearing you guys talk about what the Elk Foundation I went and signed up.
Perfect.
Yeah.
They should.
Good.
There we go.
If they're listening to this podcast, they are either an elk hunter or a future elk hunter,
Right.
and you need to be a member of the Elk Foundation.
Right. And the other sponsor is Gerber, and I was going to wear my Gerber hat today, but I woke up kind of late, and I had to run and get dilly bars. Really, I brought 72 dilly bars in that orange cooler, and they're gone. So
I didn't
topic.
even get one.
So I just grabbed my same old greasy hat that I wear all the time. But
Perfect.
Anyhow, Gerber. They're knives. We love them. If you are a backcountry elk hunter, you're going to want to have one of their Gerber Vitals and one of their, if you really want to go big, the Big Game Vital. And trust me on that one. I've been using them since, I don't know,
the dawn of time.
I think Napoleon was still a cadet in military training when I started using them.
Yep.
And then that booth right over there,
Sitka gear.
Sitka gear.
Yep.
They're
Highly-
look at
Yeah, and-
you're the only guy I know who has Sitka shorts.
You know, and I just tell everybody, if you can't find them on the website or in the catalog, call Corey Pearsall at customer service and ask him where to get the mountain shorts in the Sitka subalpine pattern.
Really?
Yep.
You're the only person, that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, anyhow, Sitka Gear. Great company, makes great products. Here supporting conservation, hunting, everything else. We're happy that they are part of this. Then we got GoHunt.com, who by the time we're all done, every person in the audience, I'm pretty sure, is going to be a subscriber to Go Hunt.
They should be, because they have a free trial going on right now.
Yeah. You know how you said I don't take notes? Look what I brought today. Notes. It says right there, for the Elk Talk podcast, the promo code for the 30-day free trial, send them to gohunt.com / that's this way, right?
Forward, like leaning forward.
Elk Talk.
Elk Talk, one word.
And then they get a 30-day free trial.
Yep.
The behind the curtains kind of everything.
Full insider membership.
Wow.
Draw odds. You get everything. And again, I know we've talked about it, but I love that I can go through and say, if I want to hunt Colorado and I have this many points or I have no points, I can filter that and say, which units can I draw with 0 points? And then I can say, which unit has a potential for 300 plus bull? Which unit has 75% public land? Which unit has an archery season? All of these different filters, and it's a map over there, and pretty soon they're disappearing. There's 2 units left that fit my criteria.
Right. Click on that unit on the map, and boom, there's all your information about that unit.
Free trial. Go and sign up. See how awesome it is. You have nothing to lose for 30 days.
Yep. GoHunt.com / Elk Talk.
Yep.
So there's this Rocky Mountain
RMHC.
Yeah,
HC is what? Hunting calls?
I believe so.
Rocky Mountain hunting calls.
Yeah. You know a thing or two about those.
I don't.
Did you bring your calls with today?
I didn't. No,
they are lock and key.
Yeah, they have those little keypad lock and key safes in the hotel room, so they're inside there today.
There you go.
Yep.
People want to know where they can get that.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta be careful where you bring them out in public.
All right.
And the company that you're keeping.
Well, if they go to Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, they can get 15% off by using the promo code ElkTalk.
Elk Talk. Yep.
I mean, we're making people so much money by watching and listening.
We're not making
to this.
them money, but we're saving them money.
There you go. Well, $1 saved is $1 earned,
That's
right?
absolutely
Same thing. So
we are making them money.
And then we have the good folks at OnX, who make like the most revolutionary product in the world. If you're
awesome.
a hunter. I mean, Al Gore thinks he's important because he invented the internet.
Yeah.
Or so he says. Eric Siegfried, who invented OnX, he makes Al Gore look like a complete blowhard downstreamer.
Yeah.
Which some listening would say, he was that before
We knew
Eric
that.
invented OnX. This podcast goes to heck. Anyhow,
and the rest of them are going to say, who's Al Gore?
Yeah.
that's true.
Very true.
I'm aging myself.
You are.
You're pulling up your
I
map
am. I
here.
just pulled up to see where we're at. We're at Big Sky Resort.
Big Sky
Got the
Ski
Ram
Resort.
Charger.
Yeah.
We're right by the Ram. Ooh, there's a disc golf right there. Yeah, this is accurate.
Yeah. And so with that, if you go to onxmaps.com and use promo code ElkTalk.
What was that? Elk Talk?
Elk Talk.
We are
one
getting
word.
good at this.
Yeah. They get what Corey's got in his hand there, 20% discount.
20% discount on the Hunt app membership.
Yep. Not the chips, the Hunt app.
Yep.
So
which is way better.
now that we paid the bills, I am so interested to hear Dirk tell me all these things about Corey as he tells us. I mean, we can't just pick on you. So the thread I want him to weave is...
Talk about top 5 mistakes,
Top
and they
5
may or may not be my top 5 mistakes.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
He can talk about them in like the third person, you know, like I'm asking for a brother or asking for a friend
Ask
kind
for
of
a
thing.
friend.
He'll say, you know, one time I have this friend and you aren't going to believe what he did. So.
Yeah.
We
We
what
won't use
version of the
names.
truth do you want?
Everybody on our podcast knows that truth is like just a relative thing, you know?
It's all over the place.
Right. I mean, you don't want to be that much more truthful than your guests.
Right.
And Corey already told me that, well, with Dirk, that means we don't have to be truthful at all if it's relative to the truthfulness of our guests.
I may or may not have set you up to be telling lies.
Well, I believe it. I believe that.
So with that, I know we probably didn't give you enough prep time, Dirk, but if just like the first thing that comes to your head, what's the biggest mistake you've made in your hunting life hunting elk?
Oh, I thought I was going to talk about Corey's mistakes.
Well, no, you got to twist it to that. That's the path we're going to. Oh, yeah.
One time.
I think probably one of my biggest mistakes when I was a young buck was giving up too easy.
I like that one.
You know,
I'm taking notes here.
Okay, good. So at that time, I was kind of an inexperienced backcountry hunter. Usually hunted the front country and went to the backcountry. I was pretty overwhelmed hunting solo. And I've got some bulls bugling down in these big, nasty, steep and deep holes. And I just don't have the toolbox in my head, I think, to go after them. Looking back now, I'm like, you idiot. What were you thinking? I mean, it wasn't that far down in compared to what we do today.
Yeah.
And that was back in the heyday of elk hunting, too.
Idaho
when
was
big
great.
bulls,
Yeah, there
lots
were big,
of bulls.
massive bulls, and I regret that.
Was that a function of I just don't feel like I mentally have the tools to get one out of there if I shoot it?
Right.
Or just, you know what, I haven't because I went through this phase similar to that where I was thought there's got to be an easier place. You know, there's got to be one just uphill from the road.
Exactly.
Here. And I'd walk away from, I mean, I can't call very good, so I didn't have big bulls bugling and down below me like you did. But so I often wonder when people have that kind of, I'm just heck with it kind of feeling. Is it because they just don't feel they're at that point where they have the skills to take care of it, to do whatever? Or because very seldom is it that they're just lazy and want to give up.
Right. Mine was, I kind of listened to my old man my whole life. And he always said, make sure you kill those out close to the road because that elk meat won't help you a bit packing it out. Right? And I don't even know if I had a legitimate pack frame at the time.
Okay.
Or even good meat bags or any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
I knew I could go down there and kill one.
Yeah.
But I didn't think I'd be able to get it out by myself.
Gotcha.
And if I'd have known then what I know now about how to do it, break them down, put them in bags, make little trips up the hill until it's done.
Yeah.
Man, I'd have stacked them up.
Yeah.
But so, I kind of shied away from that, and that was a big mistake. I should have just been better prepared.
Yeah.
Have better equipment. Not saying I had to have the most expensive equipment, but you have to have good meat bags. The flies aren't going to get through.
Right.
You have to have a legitimate pack frame of some sorts that will carry a heavy load. You have to have the knowledge to know how to break down an elk, put them in said bags, and then get it out of there. And a lot of people, I think, are overwhelmed by, like, oh, man, how am I going to get this whole elk out of the woods right now? Yeah. And I like to say, how do you eat a horse? Well, one bite at a time, right?
I've never eaten a horse, but yeah.
I usually heard to eat an elephant. You could actually apply that because I know people that eat horse.
Do you, because all three of us get to interact with a lot of other hunters, a lot of them ask questions. I would say and I feel kind of stupid, Dirk, that I didn't have that on my top 5 because I gave up really easily, and it was a combination of a lot of things. I thought there'd be an easier way,
right?
But I really was fearful of some of the places because I grew up whitetail hunting. You'd drag them. That was it. Let's drag this deer out so we can all go to the chiropractor the next day. And the idea of shooting an elk I was almost thankful it took me so long to kill one because mentally, just skill set wise, I was not prepared of what it would have taken to break one down and get it out.
Right.
And eat the horse a bite at a time, like you said.
Yeah. At that time in my hunting, my brother and I had hunted the low country, and I hate to even admit this, but all the elk we'd shot, we'd loaded whole in the back of a pickup.
Extra points.
And I don't even want to tell you how many that happened on because it was flat ground, old logging roads everywhere, and that was a fun hunt. But I graduated from that. I wanted more. I wanted more adventure, but I didn't have the tools or the knowledge because my old man, like I said, he ain't going to help me. He's like, that elk meat's not going to help you a bit. Neither am I. So.
Oh, dang. I'm impressed. I've never got one out whole.
We've talked about that.
I know. Yeah. I think if you get an elk out whole, if you're into scores, you should get to add like 30 points to the
absolutely.
score.
Only 30?
Maybe
I
more.
thought it was instantly 400 class status. If you get one out whole.
Hey, you've impressed me to the point where it's close to 400 class status.
I got a bunch of 400-inch spikes and raghorns, man.
Those are usually the ones you find close to the
I was
road.
going to say, so is that the moral of the story, Dirk? Is the spikes and raghorns?
Spikes and raghorns, that's what you get if you want to load them whole.
Huh.
See, and I think I was on the opposite end of that.
Yeah.
You know, my dad, he went deep and steep. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first time Dirk and I hunted together, I think I was a freshman. Dirk was a sophomore in high school. And we just loaded up in, I don't remember what kind of truck you had at that time, a little Mazda maybe?
A little black Mazda.
And loaded up in it. And we went steep and deep that first night. I mean, it was after school. We drove up and we found the deepest, darkest, nastiest hole. And we never heard an elk bugle. And we just dropped down in there. I think Dirk was questioning me. Why are we going down in there? We aren't even hearing an elk bugle. And yeah, that was a long night, long hike out.
And I'm glad we didn't get one because we didn't have flashlights.
We didn't have anything.
A mountain, maybe like a 16-ounce Mountain Dew sitting in the pickup for us. No meat bags. I mean, we had no clue.
We had 2 bags of Frito-Lays because we knew the Frito-Lay driver, and we had some stale chips that we'd thrown in with us.
Oh, gosh. You guys aren't painting that great of a picture for being now elk experts that the world looks to.
Well, I think it gives everyone hope. We started at the lowest point.
When you guys said that, there was a little spike of jealousy for me because I didn't grow up in a place where when I was a sophomore in high school, I could have jumped in a truck and went elk hunting after school. And I bet you there's a lot of people listening and watching this that had that same spike of jealousy I had. I wish I lived in a place where I could go do that.
Totally.
I can't even tell you how lucky I was where I grew up. I could be in bugling bulls 10 minutes from my house every morning before school. I hunted every day of September all through high school, every morning. It was incredible. And I had wood shop the first period.
Class?
And my wood shop teacher was a good old boy. And I'd always be late if it was a good day of bugling. And he's like, "What'd you see today?" You know, he'd let me slide. He wouldn't mark me tardy if I could give him a good hunting story. Right. So I might have had to embellish a couple times just to stay on his
had
good
him
side.
right in. The wind messed me up.
It was a 400-inch bull right off the road.
Well, that's a really good first one. I think attitude, even at this point in my life, having the right attitude that day is a big part of whether or not I'm going to be successful.
Yep.
Absolutely.
If I get out of the tent and say, I'm not that energetic, it needs to be easy today, I'm probably not going to find any elk.
Right. And I think that comes from confidence. You know, I don't think we had confidence back then. And whether it was confidence in being able to get one out, confidence in the fact that why drop clear down in there if we aren't going to be able to call it in, you know, all of those things that I think confidence is so important that gives you perseverance or gives you just that grit to be able to do what needs to be done.
Yeah. Cool. That's number one. I don't know if you're gonna, in your list of 5, you're probably going to struggle to come up with a better one.
Oh no, he started at the bottom. That's number 5. So next one that's a little better, number 4.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes here. What's number? Well, whether 2 or 4, depending on which part, whether we're climbing up the ladder or going down the ladder.
Well, we talk a lot. Corey and I talk a lot about being aggressive elk hunting. You know, taking the game to the elk.
So you think that people are too passive?
Well,
or
yes, there's 2 sides to that. I think a lot of folks sit on the sidelines and feel like they're a little too passive. They don't want to screw it up. They're like, this might be my only chance, and I don't want to blow it. Yeah. So then they kind of hang back, and then the elk gets disinterested. He doesn't feel threatened. He doesn't get mad. He doesn't come in. So he just kind of like, he loses interest and goes on. But on the flip side, a big mistake, I think I kind of accuse myself of this today still, is being over-aggressive. Yeah. There's a fine line you got to walk there and you kind of have to know and have a pulse of the area you're hunting. If we're in Idaho, running, gunning for bulls, we want to push up on them, get in tight on them, and push them and get them going. Some other states where they're more callable, we start making our way to the bull. He's on his way, catches us with our pants down. He's like, oh, there he is. And that can be a huge mistake. So you kind of have to walk that fine line a little bit of holding your cards right until the right time.
Yeah. Is that something you just learned over time?
I think you kind of learn it after a while. I get kind of a gut feeling.
Yeah.
And if I try to go away from my gut, it doesn't work. So I just kind of try to listen to my gut on it. Yeah. But that just comes with experience, and there's not like a real fast track to that. I think it just time in the woods.
And I think we probably err on the side of aggressiveness first and then scale back rather than build up into it.
Absolutely.
I think we come out of the gates swinging and running. And then after a couple of messed up setups or hunts, then we start pulling back if needed. And
right.
I know several years ago I drew Arizona with a couple friends, and we've all hunted Idaho. And we're used to the bulls being a little more timid. You have to get in their face. You have to make things happen.
Yeah.
And we got to Arizona, and everybody told us, you can't call in elk down here. They won't call in. They won't come to calls. Leave the calls at home. And so we hit it out of the gate, and we heard one bugle, and it's like, run for him. And so we're running at this elk, and all of a sudden we're heads up, and the elk's running at us, and it took 5 or 6 call-ins. And of course, I'm the youngest one in the group. I'm running and gunning, and finally Ralph, the guy we were hunting with, he got pretty animated and said, the elk are always right there. Slow down. And we did. We had to slow down because we could literally get an elk to bugle and set up, and they would come in. And that's not how we're used to hunting. So we had to scale back our aggressive approach. And I think that's, and I agree with Dirk, being too timid. Too many people don't make something happen because they're too timid in elk, especially when we're talking about calling and hunting the rut.
That's my problem. I'll admit and I think there's a couple of reasons why at times I approach it as being timid and move towards aggressive versus how you guys do it. Is one is just worried that, and like you said, I'm going to blow them out of here. And I'm like, I found elk. Last thing I want to do is blow them out.
Right.
Well, then there's also the not necessarily knowing what to do, how to call them in. What are they saying? What should I say?
Yep.
Because I'm not, some great elk caller. So I'm worried that I'm going to scare them off. So I'm kind of like, well, maybe I'll get an opportunity here. Maybe if I just kind of sneak around the edges and, oh man, there he is at 60 yards. And so I almost become a spot and stock guy at times. And I screw it up every time. So you think by now I'd learn that you got nothing to lose, Randy. Get after it.
Yeah.
Come out swinging. But I would say I'm one of those guys that you mentioned starts out way too passive.
Dirk, what do you think? Why is it that people are too timid?
I think they feel like they're only going to get one shot or one opportunity at an elk or to get close to an elk. And they're so scared of wasting and squandering that opportunity. They want to play it safe, and then opportunity slips them by. Yeah. I mean, you look, here's an analogy. Guys running around the bar, right? Mm-hmm. You got a wallflower over there, and he's like, oh man, and he's got a girl that's kind of smiling at him, and he smiles back, but he don't have the confidence to just go over there and say, hey, how you doing? Yeah. Sweep her off her feet. Right. Meanwhile, some other cheeseball walks up and is like, hey, how's it going? Pretty soon, she walks out of there with him,
right.
And the nice guy on the side that had no confidence, he goes home and wishes he would have done something different.
So. He has to watch Roseanne Barr reruns that night or something.
Exactly.
So confidence. I mean, you said confidence
absolutely.
A couple times.
Every time. And confidence, that just, I guess, comes from preparation.
Right.
If you've prepared with your elk calls, if you've prepared with your equipment, that gives you a lot of confidence. And then research, and then just time in the woods. Just get out there and then kind of believe in yourself and just get with it.
Yeah. For me, even in rifle season, I've kind of went back and over the 10 years of filming and however many years of elk hunting, I have journals of what day I shot the elk, all those things. Had I seen it earlier in the hunt? And you think I would start out aggressive because of what my notes show is people will say, why do you guys always kill one on the last day of season? Well, because we get more aggressive and
get desperate and ratchet up the aggression.
We should have done it. Should have did that on the first day.
Yeah.
We killed one. or had a really close encounter. If we didn't kill it, it would have given us 4 or 5 more days to go find another elk to do the same thing.
Right. But on the flip side, when we were hunting New Mexico, we went hard for 6 days and aggressive, and finally had to realize that spot and stalk was going to be the only effective method. So we had to scale back the aggression and be patient and find a bull that was in a stalkable location. And
true.
But I think that what we're talking about, that aggressive calling, if you're going to call, be aggressive. I still think we were aggressive on that spot and stalk. It was the last afternoon of the hunt. We had to make that one happen. So it was a different kind of aggression. We didn't sit back and wait for the bull to stand up and hope he walked by us. We pushed into 30 yards or whatever and got a shot. So I really think aggression, no matter what your style is, if it's spot and stalk, just taking chances more so than sitting back and being patient and hoping something happens, trying to make something happen, I think fits our style better.
Yeah, I would go back to the point one you made, that the more I build my confidence and knowledge, the more aggressive I get. The more comfortable I am being aggressive, that, I'm going to find another one if I screw this up. It's not the end of the world. What do I got to lose?
And people need to be confident in their calling. Yeah. You don't have to be a world champion to call in elk. You can sound pretty fair, but if you can throw a bunch of emotion into that call and let that elk know you mean business, that triggers it. My brother, when we first started hunting, he sounded like a whipped dog or something. He sounded horrible, but he would make bulls so mad because there was all this. You could tell there was all this aggression in his bugle. It's no matter how bad it sounded, and it would make them mad, and they would come in. So you have to believe in your calls. You got to believe in yourself.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Last year we were in New Mexico. It was near the end of the rut. It was right where that transition from peak rut to post rut. And the last day, Tracy Pettit she was the hunter, and I was bugling, and this bull just kept moving off. I'm like, oh, dang. And he'd make a bugle as he pushed his cows, but he was probably a 4.5-year-old bull, not like an old monster. And I made the weirdest whiny cow call I've ever made, and he'd like, what? He got wound up. I'm like, well, I'll try that again. It sounds stupid. I hope that the camera isn't recording this, because people are going to think it's like a dog got his tail slammed in the door or something. That guy came over the ridge, man. He was like, where is she? It was just hey, if that's what they want, I'll give it to them.
Yep.
And she shot that bull at less than 70 yards. This was a rifle hunt.
Yeah.
And so back to your point, I'm not the greatest caller, but if they tell me what they want, I'm happy,
Yep. Or if they don't tell you, you're willing to experiment and get aggressive on not just laying back and hoping.
Yeah, and that has definitely come with time. So, all right, number 3, Dirk.
I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on their plan A. I've done all this scouting. I've done all this research. I know this area like the back of my hand. And I'm going to go there on opening day, and I'm going to shoot an elk. And then it's kind of like, is a Mike Tyson that says everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Well, opening day shows up, you don't hear an elk bugle.
Did Mike Tyson really say something that intelligent?
He might have said it a little differently than I did. But
it gets attributed to him all the time.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
I remember he said, everybody wants to put me up on a pedicure or something.
I think that what it is he didn't pay attention in history class when I think it was MacArthur or Patton said that every war plan is only good until the first shot is fired.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of.
He just altered it.
Yeah, he
everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Gee, Corey. Hey, I didn't know you were an impersonator. You got like a Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump impersonation or something too. But anyhow, sorry to distract from that. People aren't adaptable.
Yeah, they think, they've got all this faith in this one spot. And I know there's elk. There's been here. I shot an elk here 3 years ago, and I know that I'll go in there and get one again. Well, what we've learned this the hard way, living in Idaho. It's wolf-ridden, right? Mm-hmm. North Idaho. And just because it was good yesterday doesn't mean it's going to be good tomorrow.
Right.
And we go in there and we don't get the reaction. If we're not hearing bulls, if we're not seeing the sign, we're moving.
Yeah.
So you have to have plan A through Z, whatever it takes. So while you're doing all your due diligence, all your e-scouting, you have to have several areas within a large area to where you go to the first one and it doesn't work out. That's okay. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over here. You know, a lot of folks don't understand what it takes sometimes to put it all together. I'll use my Idaho hunt from this last fall, just for instance. I set my base camp up in a central location in this big area. I want to canvas this entire area, and I've got every ridge system and every drainage and everything mapped out in my head, and I've even got a checklist of where I'm going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Day one, I drive 45 miles from my camp and hunt.
Wow.
Okay. Got into elk. Usually doesn't happen like this on day one. Got into bugle and bulls. Had a great day, but there was a lot of wolf sign and a lot of other hunters. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go somewhere else. Drove back to camp. Drove 30 miles the opposite direction, and found a bull that wanted to play. And I was fortunate enough to take him. And that's probably a little bit more extreme than a lot of people are willing to do, but you have to have that mindset that I'm not going to get hung up on one spot.
Yeah.
Just because I had an elk bugle here 2 days ago, if you want bugle now, that's okay. I'm going to the next spot. I know there's a good spot. Oh, there's that one place I've always wanted to check out. Go check it out. You'll be regretful if you don't.
Yeah.
So
no, if I didn't know better, I'd think that you did our e-scouting video.
I haven't seen it.
So it's one that we just recorded. It won't be live for about another 5 or 6 weeks. When you were talking about this, giving yourself some options in the video, I say, all right, I've got general area A, general area B, general area C, and sometimes I'll have general area D, and I camp somewhere nearby. And then I'm going and experiment. And in the morning, I'm going to try this. In the afternoon, I'm going to try that. Well, this area just isn't working out. I'm moving to area B. So when you're talking about your list of places and things, I'm like, man, sounds like I might have stole Dirk's notes for that
right?
e-scouting.
I don't know, but we did talk about camp locations, and I don't think we were willing to go 45 miles one direction and 30 the other. That's central, but it's like
and that's
universal.
on mountain roads, gravel mountain roads. You know how I drive.
Yeah.
I get there. But
I try to get there too, but I just, the time, for me, it's the time it takes getting up that much earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I would say, there's a lot of times where I think this is kind of close to one of each of ours where we had it stuck in a rut or something.
Plans.
Refusing to experiment, something like that. And I think we've all had that experience where it just wasn't working. We kept trying the same thing for 4 days. Finally, we just said, heck with it. And we went and did something that if our buddies saw it, they'd probably laugh at us, and we killed an elk.
Oh, yeah.
And even though that whatever we did that day may not have been the answer in all instances, as a general rule, the lesson it taught me is when you're stuck in a rut, go do something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever something different is, go do something different.
Anything different.
Yeah.
Just don't do the same thing over and over in the same place.
I'm a huge fan of being unorthodox in little ways of doing stuff.
What do you mean by unorthodox?
Well, for instance, especially in North Idaho, it's so darn brushy, right?
I drive through North Idaho. When I look at that country, I'm not tough enough to hunt there.
It's horrible.
If you guys told me if I went there I could shoot a 350-inch bull every year, I still don't think I'd go there. It doesn't look like any fun to hunt in.
No, it's horrible. I don't know why I do it, but every year I'm like, I got to go back. But so, being aggressive, okay, a lot of people, we'll touch on that again, would not be very aggressive. Let's say you get a bull come into 50 yards. Mm-hmm. You can't see him. There's a fair amount of timber and brush and cover, and he just locks up. You got a stalemate. And this is this is typical for elk everywhere. They won't come that last little distance, so you can shoot them. Something unorthodox I've been doing for a lot of years is once I've decided there's a stalemate and he's not coming, I'll almost wait till he turns to go, and I'll light into him. I will scream the meanest, nastiest challenge bugle I can, and I will run at that sucker.
And I think it's important here to let the listeners know what the name of that is.
Well, does it have it has a name?
Well, I might have coined the phrase the Weippe Whizbang.
The what?
Weippe, Whizbang. That's the small town I grew up in. Right?
Okay.
Weippe, Idaho.
Weippe, Idaho. Is a tiny little town.
Wow. Okay.
Population of 536 or something.
Cool.
But
the Weippe Whizbang.
yeah.
Really?
I can remember the day and the place I was standing when he coined it that name, or at least when he shared it with me.
Wow.
Yeah, we were hunting that year when you came down and hunted with me, the 2003, 2004 something, and we were chasing that bull up through the burn, and you were gasping for air, and that 6x7 turned back down the hill and came down, and you said, "I'm going to do the Weippe Whizbang on him." I said, "You're going to do what?" And you bugled and took off running at him, and he turned and came back. I mean, he was moving up 120 yards away with cows, and he turned and came right back down the ridge.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you get an encounter with him?
We did. We didn't get. Did we get a shot?
I don't think.
I don't want to throw you under the bus.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I'm not going to say Dirk missed.
We won't talk about
The
that.
Weippe Whizbang.
Yeah. So that's very unorthodox.
That sounds unorthodox.
Most people aren't going to take all their chips, put them on the table in this one fell swoop to be seen by this elk. He's 50 yards, but you got to know where to stop.
Yeah.
You want to run till you can maybe get a shooting lane, because a lot of times that elk will hear you and he will be like, "Oh, here he is. He's going to show himself." So he wants to see you. So he'll kind of circle to the left or right, whichever way, and look. He wants to see you before he leaves, because you gave him that last little bit of a confidence that you wanted to fight. He's like, "Okay, all right, maybe I will fight you," and he'll turn, and you might get a shot. Now, I've had it happen the opposite way, and he'll tuck tail and run. But
at that point, what do you have to lose?
Right. But then they'll usually bugle from the next ridge over, and we'll just do it again.
Yeah.
So.
Have you guys found that if you blow an opportunity, that if you stay on them, you'll get another opportunity, or is that sometimes you do, sometimes you don't?
If you win, if they wind you, then it's game over, of course.
Yeah.
But.
I think that's a key. If they see you and can tell you're a human, then it's iffy. You still might be able to get on them. If they wind you, I really don't think you have a chance. Anytime, in the next few hours, they're moving, they're on their escape route, they know there's danger there. But if they just hear you and get nervous and move off, or if they see something that isn't quite right and they move off, several times we'll give them 15 minutes and then head back up the ridge, slip in there close and get them fired back up. And that's, I think, where persistence comes in. Is if they haven't truly busted out of there, stay with them.
Yeah. And,
we've had several elk that we've called into 3 or 4 different setups that we've stayed on, and finally they get mad and they turn and come into, this is the final showdown, and they come in and we get a shot. So that persistence, as well as just sticking with the hunt or sticking after it.
So would you say number 4 is be unorthodox?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you could say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you started on that, and I didn't know if that was your number 4 or if we were just going
we could
down
throw
a
that in the back too. I don't know if I'm going to have 5 of them here, but
or if you have 9, we can go to 9.
Right.
Yeah. We're only thing we're limited by is how quick the dilly bar is going to melt in that cooler. So we've talked about give up too easy, aggressive versus passive, not willing to adapt. Kind of maybe 3A was don't be afraid to be unorthodox or be unorthodox.
Yeah.
Where else we going with this?
So I think another one is not having your equipment be functional and flawless. Okay. Got a couple analogies. So a few years ago, I had some cousins of mine come out to Idaho. They wanted to go elk hunting. And I said, sure, let's go. So took them out, and it was a rough year. It was really dry and hot, and we were having a hard time getting on some elk. And the last day of season, I knew this nasty hole that usually held some elk, and bugled down in there, and there's a growly bull down there. So hiked in. I'm like, okay, we didn't make any more noises until we tried to get a strategic spot so we could have, wind in our favor, and to where he could just come side hill right to us instead of have to come up or go down, and then have some shooting lanes. We got the shooting lanes all set up, and I said, okay. I told my cousin, I said, all right, get ready. You stand here. I think he's going to come over here. Going to have a nice clear spot to shoot here. When his head goes behind the tree, draw your bow. He steps out, shoot him. Okay, got it. Made a couple quiet cow calls. Bang. Screams. So then I just cut him off. Well, you can hear this guy coming through the woods. He sounds like a bulldozer. Just crash, crash, crash. He is coming. And I've got my bow ready just in case that my cousin doesn't get her done. I thought, well, maybe I'll get a shot too, because we're standing we're side by side. Here comes this bull, just like it was almost like we'd scripted it.
Yeah.
He walked right behind that tree. My cousin draws his bow. Bull walks out, stops, and he gave a little bit extra pull on his string or something, and his arrow falls off. And the bull just tuck-tails and runs. I'm like, what happened? Well, put your arrow back up there. He draws it back. Well, if he drew it back just right, then the broadhead didn't catch on his rest. His arrows were too short.
Oh, no.
So he gave it a little bit extra in the heat there, and it cost him a bull of a lifetime. He's like, was it big? I said, that's a bull of a lifetime around here.
No.
It was a monster. Doggone it. The game was over.
Right.
So you have to work out these little kinks and all these little weird things in your equipment in the off season. You got to be shooting your bow. You got to try to get your broadheads out, more than a couple days before season starts. You got to make sure they're hitting where your field points are hitting, or at least hitting accurately.
Yeah.
To where when you pull your bow back and a bull's in range, you're going to hit him and kill him.
Which is part of what we're doing here today. It's Total Archery Challenge. We
Absolutely
went and shot the course here and found out that we have a few things to iron out between now and September. But I will say I'm shooting a slider sight this year.
Yeah.
And Dirk is as well.
Yeah.
I think we both would agree that made a huge difference to be able to dial in, especially on those longer ranges.
Yeah.
Put the pin on the target and execute a good shot. You can hit long range shots, and not for hunting purposes, but it just makes us that much better at hunting situations. And so I think, coming to 3D shoots and working out issues with gear, we're carrying our hunting packs, we're wearing our hunting boots, we're, a lot of the gear we're using in September, we're putting through the test right now, and it's important.
Right. And then the little things on your daily hunt, people overlook of your gear. Okay. Here's another analogy. I've made this mistake twice in my hunting career.
You don't have a friend who made this mistake.
He hasn't thrown me under the bus.
I haven't. Not yet. I'm just trying to speak from personal.
We're just about out of time.
Got the audience all worked up that we're going to get some dirt on Corey, and all right. Anyhow, that has happened to you a couple times.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you have electronics, they're powered by batteries. Something really important when you're hunting elk is flashlights.
Yeah.
Okay. Your flashlights have to have batteries, and you have to have spare batteries.
Right. That's
and
a good
some
idea.
Spare batteries for the spare batteries.
Right.
Right. So I've shot an elk, this year included. Was one of the times. Shot him right before dark, get him all worked up, and it's like I'm gonna savor those batteries in the flashlight because I know they're good until for the pack out, right?
Yeah.
So you get the bull all worked up and hanging and stuff. It's like, all right, it's dark. I can't see anymore. Time to get the flashlight out. And the first time I did it, I got my flashlight out, and it looked like you had a candle. It was that dead. And I was 2.5 miles from the pickup on this sketchy, brushy trail that was hard to follow. Well, somebody ribboned the trail earlier in the year, so in my ignorance on the way down, I was like, who ribbons these trails? I'm pulling the ribbons down.
No.
Well, what kind of idiot would do that? I should have pulled them out when I left, right?
Yeah.
So I'm fighting my way out of this brush hole trail, and I'm holding that flashlight about a foot off the ground, trying to keep the trail. And that was brutal. That was bad. That was not. I made it happen. It worked out, but it could have been way easier.
Yeah.
If I'd have had a trail of blood with that, I'd have been done.
Bad. So on headlamps, flashlight stuff, you guys carry an extra headlamp or just extra batteries?
I carry a headlamp and a flashlight.
Okay.
So I actually carry. I have a easily accessible flashlight and a headlamp in the top pouch of my pack, and then in my kill kit, I also have a small flashlight with 2 extra batteries in there, so that if we do kill one, after dark or have to pack it out after dark, I've got spares there for that occasion, in addition to the extra batteries I have for my original flashlight. So,
yeah, I just carry 2 headlamps and extra batteries.
Yeah.
Now, this year in Idaho, day one, I said, had a good day, hiked out in the dark, got back to the pickup, took my headlight, took my flashlight, set it on the seat of the pickup. And I said to myself, put that in your pack.
Yeah.
You lazy bum. But I was tired. And I thought, no, I'll get it in the morning. I'll never forget it. So the next morning I go out hunting. And of course, Lucky got this nice elk down. And I get him all worked up. It's like, all right. And I'm in some nasty, nasty country, no trail. And steep and a lot of snow on the ground. Oh. And it was using trekking poles to get in just so I wouldn't slip to my death.
Yeah.
So get the bull worked up. I'm like, all right, where's that flashlight? Neither my flashlight nor my headlamp was in there. So
You're
now
sitting on the seat of your truck.
Oh yeah. So I had batteries though. I had lots of batteries.
Packing extra weight.
So the only thing I had was my flashlight, and it's about 30%. Yeah. I didn't figure I could carry my flashlight and go navigate the terrain with trekking poles or my cell phone flashlight. Yeah. So what do? I got to stay the night.
Ooh.
So, but I was prepared.
Yeah.
It had snowed, it had rained, I had rain gear, so I was good. I had a puffy jacket so I could stay warm. Yeah. I had some things to start fires and the worst of conditions, so I could get this fire going. I had a little extra food plus an elk down.
Yeah.
So I stayed the night. It wasn't comfortable, but I was ready to go. So, but I think the long short of it is the things that are the most crucial to your hunt and to your life. Yeah. You have to pay attention and make sure those are good. Don't overlook it. Don't get lazy.
Yeah.
It's easy to do.
That's probably the takeaway is I get lazy about things, or I get in a hurry. Yeah, I'll get back to that, or I don't know that I need that, and it seems like and you almost are setting yourself up
totally
for a problem
or for success. I always say the easiest way to kill an elk is to go out right before dark without a knife and a flashlight. I mean,
there you have it, folks. That's the sick tip of the day right there.
You want to be successful, be unprepared for success.
So, Dirk, do you do much rifle hunting, or is it mostly just all
rifle hunt for whitetails? A lot, yeah. But usually, the bulk of my elk hunting is bow.
Okay.
The rifle hunting, those things are ghosts up there. Once they quit bugling, I don't know.
Luck, huh?
The guys shoot them, but I don't know how. I'm a terrible rifle hunter.
Well, you've seen it driving through. It's not only steep and rugged, it's so incredibly brushy that trying to find those bulls have sanctuaries anywhere they want to go that you're not going to get them out of.
Yeah. I like I said, you guys don't have enough love or money to get me to hunt northern Idaho. You don't have to worry about me as any. Not that I'm much competition anyhow, but you don't need to worry about me showing up and taking space at your trailhead.
Right.
And I know that some listeners are going to be like, Newberg, you're a wuss. Yep, I am. I'm getting older and a little smarter.
North Idaho looks great on Google Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
there.
Oh,
and then you look around.
Green
it's
and
like,
lush it is.
I don't even know how you could walk through that stuff. It's terrible.
It's bad. I see it, and it reminds me of the Sitka blacktail hunt I'm doing in Alaska in a week.
Oh.
2 weeks. Yeah. The last time we went, the guy we go with, he said, it's 1.25 miles. We gain 1,200 feet elevation, and it'll take 6 hours. I looked at Tyler Jonerson, my camera guy, and Tyler smiled at me. He's like, there's no terrain in North America that's going to take us 6 hours to climb 1,200 feet and go 1.25 miles. 6 hours later, we kind of broke through the canopy there, and oh, wow. It reminds me when I drive through your country, that's what goes through my head. There's got to be elk that die of old age there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just because of that.
Yeah. If the wolves don't get them.
Yeah. Huh.
So.
Well, wait, you got to have some.
We're down to number one. We that was only 4, wasn't it?
Kind of 4.
Kind of 4 and a half.
4 1/3.
Do you have another one?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And this one comes on Corey a lot.
All right.
This one.
Here we go, folks.
This one's on Corey.
But this is number 5, not number 1, right? We aren't going backwards now.
Well,
we aren't counting down.
This is the number one
tip.
tip.
The gate is open now.
The number one tip, and it's all about Corey. So
you mean a friend, someone you know? We weren't going to use names here.
Oh, we weren't supposed to name names. Okay. So we've talked about being aggressive. There's sometimes when you need to be a little more strategic when you're hunting.
Okay.
Correct? Okay, let's say we've got this bull answering us, but you know what? The wind, Corey preaches wind.
Yeah.
Because I think we've had our ass handed to us more times because of screwy, wonky wind than anything. So
I think everyone would say that.
Yeah, and it's the worst. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we just push too hard on that wind. I'm a kind of a fan, and we kind of differ in this opinion. I usually let him win on it though, but he'll be like, "All right, let's go." I'm like, "That wind is terrible." He's like, "Oh no, we can go around this way, and we'll work that wind." And a lot of times you get caught.
Yeah.
So, and I know he's talked a lot about obey the wind, but you have to. It's crucial, and if you have to sit on the hillside until your thermals change, and it's like watching paint dry. It's the worst thing on earth. If there's a bull screaming down there and you're sitting there waiting for the wind to change and the thermals to change, you have to do it. You just have to do it because once those thermals change, it's game on and you have the upper hand now.
Yeah.
As far as the wind goes. So be patient at some point in this hunt and make sure you obey that wind.
Do you guys find that a lot of people you talk to don't quite understand what thermals are because they come from a flat country place?
I think so.
I mean, you guys grew up in a spot. I get a lot of emails of, tell me about these thermal things. And if they would have been sitting right here in this booth over the last 2 hours, they would have felt when I first came up here and set this chair up, the wind was kind of going down this way. Just in the last 2 hours now, it's kind of going up the hill because the sun has heated the ground. And I know that's kind of elementary maybe to a lot of people, but if you didn't grow up with it, and if you live in some flat area, it's like, oh, our prevailing wind is always out of the northwest.
Right.
Well,
there's a difference between prevailing wind and thermals. And we talk, sometimes we categorize wind,
right?
But we're truly talking thermals. And the way that the wind currents move in the mountains usually isn't by a prevailing wind.
Yeah.
It's usually by the diurnal thermal.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're on a steep open hill or steep south-facing south-facing slope, and the hill, the sun's shining on the hill, theoretically your wind's going to be going up, right? Okay, you could drop down in the bottom and it's timbered. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can get in that shady timbered bottom of that draw, and that's sucking that wind straight down. Yep. When you walk 10 yards into the timber, and then now it's sucking it straight down. You have to know these little nuances.
Plus,
so frustrating.
What it's doing there at that transition point where one current's going up the hill, one's going down the draw, that's where you get those swirly winds that sometimes have to back out of when you have an elk bugling in the middle of it.
I think that would be a very good example of your comment, Dirk, about aggressive versus passive. Mm-hmm. You got to be slightly passive until that thermal becomes consistent.
Right.
And then you can be aggressive.
Absolutely. But it's like the traffic light. I mean, if the traffic light's red, you can't go. You got to wait for the green light. Corey.
Was that a traffic slam or an elk hunting analogy?
Well,
do I run red lights?
Yeah, maybe.
So
we'll just say this is a red light wind, huh?
It is.
There's a red light thermal. Just stay right here.
Stay right
so
here.
Maybe we need to use that. Corey's got the green light.
You know what? I'm going to get. You ever seen that movie Forrest Gump when they said run or they said stop? We're going to get some of those. Maybe we'll put it on a ping pong paddle. It's easy to carry.
And that way I'm going to turn around and Dirk's going to be like, stop, Corey. Head nodding, head shaking. Yeah.
So some of the questions that came up since yesterday's release of the podcast, one guy said, he sent me an email last night. He's like, my camp selection is like the most difficult thing for me to deal with. And I emailed him and said,
stay tuned. Episode 4.
But now I got distracted with talking about camp. Oh, the one of the questions I got last night was, how far in advance of your hunt will you go and scout? And I guess that brings the question of, do you even spend time to go and scout? or do you kind of use your hunt as some of your scouting? And if you do scout, how far in advance do you go? How many days? Do you go in June? Do you go in August? Do you say, I mean, for me, the easy answer is I try to get there 2 days early, and that's my scouting.
Right. Yeah. When you're hunting out of state, you just can't, it's hard. You can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I get a lot of people like, yeah, I'm going out to Colorado this year. I'm thinking of going out in June or May. I'm like, well, you know, those elk are going to be in different places than you're probably going to see them in May or when you're going to. So if you can, stay home, work, do whatever keeps the family time in good standing, and take 2 extra days on your hunt. Yeah. Because whatever you find that close to your hunt is way more relevant to your hunting than what you find in June.
Yeah. Real-time data.
Yeah. And I think, you know, if you are going to go and scout the area, it's more to get a lay of the land, maybe familiarize yourself with the area. If you're, you know, this time of year, July, August, leading up to the hunt, typically where the cows are right now is where you're going to find the bulls during the rut. And so finding cows right now is important. I don't even bother before the first part of July to go out and actually look for elk.
Yeah.
And like you say, if you find them now, they're going to be there. If you find them during the hunt, you know they're going to be there because the hunt's open, it's game on. And I always prefer to scout with a bugle tube because that's, if you get an elk to answer, he's right there and you can hunt him.
And it's funny too, you know, as far as scouting, if you're walking ridge tops and trails and stuff and you're not finding any elk rubs.
Yeah.
A lot of times those elk are not going to be on those high ridge tops during September making rubs. They might at a saddle come across from one drainage to the next and make some rubs. Yeah. But usually where you find the rubs are down in the thick of things.
Yeah.
You know, a third of the way to the bottom or 2/3 of the way to the bottom, down where there's more cover, there's more shade, there's more water. It's easier, you know, to rim themselves around the drainage there instead of having to climb up and down and up and down. And you can walk in some areas and you'd be like, there hasn't been an elk here in 100 years. Well, no, they don't live right there. Yeah. They live a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile toward the bottom, and that's where you're going to find the sign anyway. So, and that's hard scouting. Yeah. When you got a bull bugling down there, you're willing to crawl into some of those holes. But this time of year, it's hard scouting. So.
I'd be interested to know if you guys have an answer to this because I get asked it, and I almost answer it with a question. And it's a question I don't have the answer to. Is I'll go into a place that has 5 finger ridges coming off a bigger ridge. Mm-hmm. And they all look the same to me. I look at it, I'm like, I should just hunt them all. Mm-hmm. But there's one of those ridges or 2 of those ridges that in the rut, that is where it happens every time I'm there. And maybe it's all coincidence, but it's happened to me enough times that there must be something about certain ridges, how they're located for wind, for feed, for escapement, whatever. Do you guys see that? And if so, why is that? Why is it that way?
I think that's the entire state of Montana. You drive through the entire state of Montana on the west side, and every single hillside you look at, you think, that is prime elk country. And then you go and hunt it, and you spend 2 days walking through there, and I don't think an elk has ever even walked through there. And it's, you know, it's that needle in the haystack of trying to figure out this is prime. There's feed here, there's cover, there's benches, there's water, there's everything an elk needs, but an elk's not there.
Yeah.
And I don't know the reason for that on that level. I think when you get into more specific acute accounts of a ridge with 5 finger ridges coming off of it, and the elk are picking one ridge that they rut on, the cows are the ones that are dictating where they're at, and the bulls are coming to find them. And so I think it really comes down to feed and security. Yeah. And for whatever reason, that one ridge, like you mentioned, it either has a good escape route or the winds are such that the elk are protected 75% of the day right there and they feel safe. Or it might be that ridge provides a bedding area where the thermals are coming up, but right above them there's a really thick brush hillside that protects them with their sense of hearing. And the other ridges maybe are just open ridges where they don't have that same protection from above. So there's a reason. I guarantee there's a reason. It just might be just because.
I'm trying to figure out. I still, when I see that, I'll stand there for 20 minutes just looking like.
Which one?
Yeah, or if I find the ridge that has all the activity, I'll be looking at the other ones. I'm like, what the? It all looks the same. Yep. But here's rubs from last year, from this year, some that look like they're 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And you know, why fight it? Go hunt that ridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes it really comes down. I mean, we try to understand why.
Yeah.
Why this, why that. But sometimes it really comes down to, I don't know why, but they're here every year, so I'm going to go there.
Right. That's where I'm at with it. I've just resolved that, hey, there are certain places, especially where I get to hunt a lot in Montana. It's like, all right, I could come in here in July and I can't find an elk. I can't find any tracks. I can't find anything. I come in here September 10th and it's like an elk farm.
Yep.
And okay.
They just like that spot.
I come here every September 10th.
Put a waypoint there on your Onyx app and go back.
Yeah. People have asked me that when they've experienced the same thing. I don't have an answer to it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like when elk are in a feed pattern, you'll look across, you'll say, well, all these drainages look the same. But there is something in this little drainage over here that they walk 4 miles, and that's where they hang out to feed for that 10-day period while something is their preferred food right there. Yep. And then you go in there, and there's no elk when you go in hunting. It's like, what the heck? Now they're 4 miles away in some little what seems like a microscopic area, but they're selecting for certain things that to the human eye, I'm not smart enough to figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a certain thing they're eating there that doesn't grow in the other ones.
Yeah. That's
thermal cover. Maybe it's just set up to be a little cooler in that spot just by the way the ridge system works. And I have to agree with what Corey said. You got terrain features and brush fields and stuff that protect them. And I think there's all those little things probably come into play.
I wish I had, I got such a little brain. I have room for another brain in there. If I could take an elk brain, I'd understand all that stuff. But, well, there's a lot of unanswered questions to the world of elk hunting.
Yep.
And most of them that I provide are just made up along the way. Some guy came up here earlier. He's like, man, thanks so much. All the stuff you put out is so helpful. I'm like, wait a second. You might want to go get a big dose of salt to throw with anything that I said, because it's worth about what you paid for it. So,
but if it works,
I'll take
you're a
credit
genius.
for it.
Yeah.
I'll take all the credit in the world if it works.
Yep.
But
if it doesn't work, it's their fault. They aren't applying it right.
Yeah, there you go. They didn't quite listen well enough.
Yeah.
So, well, how long do we want to go, guys?
Well, we're at 1 hour right now.
Yeah, and it said that we had an hour and 30 minutes on that recording device over there.
It's saying record, so.
Yeah, we're good?
No,
right.
we're good.
I was going to say one more thing just before we wrap it up.
No, if he's going to throw me under the bus, look, the battery's dying. Probably better call it a wrap.
Let me tell you about Corey.
All right. I
Let
deserve
me tell you
it.
about my best friend.
Man, we get you a guitar, man.
So I think the biggest thing to focus on all of these mistakes that you guys are going to talk about is reacting to the mistakes. Okay, everybody's going to make them. We make them. We continue to make them, and they're bonehead mistakes, and we've made them before. But acknowledging the mistake and internalizing it and remembering it to where you get to a similar situation again, a guy gets lazy, a guy gets complacent, and be like, oh yeah, we can leverage that wind a little bit or whatever it is. Obey it. I've made this mistake before. No, I'm not doing that again.
Yep.
I'm gonna play it smart.
Yeah, learn from it. There's times where I still get lazy, and I'm like, I made that mistake before, but this time I think I got it.
Yeah, that was a fluke.
Go in there, almost identical situation, and the exact same result.
I think, when we were hunting Wyoming a couple of years ago, I can remember hunting with Dirk in high school and college, and we went on a particular hunt, and I was at full draw on a big 6-point bull that was less than 20 yards away, and I had a great big red fir tree about 36 inches in front of me in the shooting lane. I set it behind the tree. So this was 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, we're hunting Wyoming a couple of years ago, and we have a bull coming up, and I'm set up on the left side of this tree, perfect lanes over there, and the bull starts swinging around to the right. So instead of stepping in front of the tree, I take 2 steps behind it to set up for a shooting lane over there. Had I taken 2 steps in front of the tree instead of behind it, I would have had 180-degree shooting lanes.
Yeah.
Now I step over to the right, the bull ends up swinging around and coming out to the left, and I have no shot at him at 10 yards to my left where that tree is now positioned perfectly in the shooting lane. So it's, 2 steps. Just remembering, don't step behind that brush. Don't step behind that tree. Step in front of it, and
I've
learn from those mistakes.
If we were going to sit here and talk about, we tried to get through our top 5 mistakes.
Yeah, we couldn't even do that.
It took us 2.5 hours to get through just a few of them. But it would probably take 2 days to go through all of the mistakes I've made multiple times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Rather, like you said, Dirk, learn from them. I'm like slow, man. I'm like so below average at everything. I got to color code everything. I've put this podcast get together 100 times. I still am like, okay, purple to
red
purple,
to red.
red. So I'm not the smartest dude on the mountain for sure, but I try hard. That's my only redeeming quality is I have that thing about not giving up easy.
Right.
What I lack in intelligence, I make up for in stubbornness.
There you go. My wife would add to that for sure. Well, while I give the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation plug, you be thinking of the Sitka question of the week at work, because we're sitting in a spot right here that I bet you people don't even know it, but this Madison Gallatin Range in southwest Montana was all checkerboard. And when Plum Creek owned it, they let people hunt it. This was back in 1991 or 2. And then a group from Oregon came over, a guy named Mel McDougall. He had a company he set up called Big Sky Lumber Company, and he bought all this Plum Creek land. And he said, we're going to block it off. You guys aren't going to be able to hunt these lands. Well, not just the private land that he bought, which was like 50,000 acres, but it controlled access to all this public land, over 100,000 acres of public land. And everyone thought, he wouldn't do that. Well, 1993, I think it was the first season he closed it. Big Sky Lumber did. And all of this stuff you see here was closed. You couldn't, all that stuff up there, you couldn't get to it. And the Elk Foundation and a few other groups stepped in, and it took 3 land trades to get it done. But in the process, what happened in the Gallatin 1, the Gallatin 2, and then up here in the Taylor's Fork trade, it took. We ended up, the public gave them this big resort over here, the land they built this big resort called the Yellowstone Club. It's a billionaires club off the other side of the ski hill here. But in exchange, we got all of these checkerboard parcels. And now it's all open again to public hunting. But there's so many younger people who, some may have not even been born then, that's how old I am, have no idea that the Elk Foundation was kind of the leader that put these land trades together. And now we have hunting access to that 100,000 and some acres that was blocked off in the Gallatin and Madison range. And right here, sitting here, looking at it, I still remember, it's like, man.
Wasn't always accessible.
No, it could have been a train wreck.
Yep.
And there's so many places, I think, on the elk landscape where we might take for granted today that it, oh, wow, look, it's open. Well, there's groups like the Elk Foundation have done an awful lot to make that work. They're nearing 900,000 acres of land they've made accessible to hunting. That's a lot.
And I think it's important to point out, in Montana, when you think about checkerboard land, that's important because in Montana, you can't step across that corner and go from public to public if it's a corner, which, you look at the reality of it, you should be able to. I mean, as far as you don't have to step foot onto private land to get there, but you can't corner cross. So having a checkerboard area, you're shut down and you can't get from public to public in that. Yeah. Even if it's contiguous based on the corners there. So to be able to go in and do a land swap where all of those checkerboard pieces are now public, that's huge.
Huge. I mean, and the number of elk that get shot. Well, it was the Madison, Gallatin, and the Bridger ranges is where all the swapping took place. And it took a long time. It took 3 trades to get it done. But I can't even imagine how the elk hunting in this part of Montana would be nothing like it is from an access standpoint without that. And had to give up a little bit over here, this Yellowstone Club property. And some people used to hunt in that. And they're like, I'm mad that we ended up giving up my hunting hole.
So you give up one drainage to gain access to
3 mountain ranges.
Yeah.
So that was a great thing to see. That's when that started. That's when I first joined the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation chapter here. I'm like, wow, they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yep.
And I jumped in and was part of this chapter at that time for a few years, and they did great work. And these volunteers behind us right here, they're the ones who...
They're the ones on the ground.
Yeah, they're the ones raising the money, writing letters, figuring it out.
That's right.
Anyhow,
that's awesome.
That's the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation part of the podcast, and we hope that y'all become members. So what's the Sitka question of the week that you're gonna ask Dirk?
It actually revolves around clothing. Okay. And so Dirk, preference, base layer, synthetic or merino wool?
It just kind of depends. I like them both. Today I'm wearing a Sitka synthetic base layer. Underwear, if you will. There's other times I like the merino wool. They're a little warmer, I feel. So in hot conditions, I feel like I'm cooler in these, and that kind of goes against the whole merino wool concept. But the merino wool doesn't get stanky as quick. Yeah. And I feel like I'm less clammy, less sweaty down in the nether regions if I'm using the merino wool.
Yeah.
So sure, I get that question a lot from people just, as they're looking at the Sitka system, which piece should I buy? So for a top base layer, if you're hunting your main layer, upper layer, your core crew, synthetic or merino wool?
Synthetic.
For what reason?
I'm kind of, I don't know. I just like it. I like it. And it's funny because they're a very delicate article of clothing, and I'll wear like the Core Crew hoodie. That's my favorite. That may be one of my very favorite items in the Sitka lineup because it's light, it's breathable. You got that little hood that's just the right amount of warmth if you need it, if it's not super cold out, and you can still hear.
Yep.
But that thing wears like iron. Going through the thick timber and nasty country that we traverse sometimes, you would think it'd rip it to shreds, but that stuff's pretty tough. Yeah. So anyway, I like it. It's just comfortable and it fits right. And I don't know if there's anything that's any too deep. Well, I could say I like it, but I love it. So,
Randy, synthetic or merino?
I'm strictly a merino guy. I know that there's times where you're not supposed to do it. Like when we were in New Mexico, you were looking at me like, why are you wearing that long sleeve zip tee merino? It's kind of like my security blanket, man. I wear it from September 1st to the end of the year. And a lot of people don't like merino because they've used a lower quality merino and it scratches and itches. Not the case with the Sitka stuff. And then some people are like, well, it's not very durable. If you've seen the hundreds of days some of my merino has on it and it's still flawless, and I understand that higher quality gear is an investment, but I want stuff that lasts for a long time, and I want stuff that performs when I need it. And so I wear, I always wear a merino zip tee top. Now, as far as bottoms, depends on temperature. If it's going to be hot, I wear synthetic briefs, boxers. And then when it gets colder, I'll go to merinos. And I know that everyone's going to... So
I was going to say, that's the point of asking that question is there's not a right answer or a wrong answer. I think there are benefits. You look at merino wool, the benefits of merino wool, if you're using it for warmth and it gets wet, it still maintains warm properties. It'll keep you warm. But when we're talking base layer, I don't think it's quite as critical there. Your base layer shouldn't be getting wet. It should be wicking, which I think synthetics do a better job of wicking moisture away from the surface of your skin to the outside so it can be evaporated, whereas merino will hold it a little bit more.
Yep.
So if you are sweating a lot, synthetics are going to wick that moisture. But then again, synthetics are going to hold odor more than merino. Yep. Merino is antibacterial, so it's not going to hold the odor. So it really comes down to whatever you want.
Yeah.
They're both going to be effective in different ways, and I don't think it's going to be. I don't think anybody's going to hate synthetics or hate merino wool. For me, I wear synthetic on the base layer on the top strictly because we're able to wash it if we need to. I'm not worried about odor in the synthetic. If I need to stop at a creek after day 2 and rinse it out in the creek and wring it out and hang it on a limb for 15 minutes. It dries out, and I can put it back on. And I think that moisture wicking for us, the way we hunt, the fast and furious, continually hiking, I'm always sweaty. And so having that moisture wicking capability is probably more important than the anti-odor for me. So that's why I wear synthetic. You wear merino for the reasons you wear it. And it doesn't really matter.
But that new Apex hoodie, it's got a combination of both.
I know.
That thing's pretty awesome.
Really? I haven't tried it yet. I just got mine.
Yeah, and it is soft as a baby's blanket.
Yeah.
If you can't wear wool, and no matter how much of a tenderfoot you are, that thing is like a baby's blanket. It's amazing.
Well.
So that's the Sitka question of the episode.
Okay, that's a good one because it was my Hunt Talk forum. There was just a question about that out there, and some guy's like, "Man, I didn't understand this. I get it. I mean, a lot of it is experiment and say, why was I doing that all along? And talking to other people, not being afraid to ask the questions. And so it was a relevant question. So Dirk, where can the world find you? Instagram.
I'm on Instagram. I'm called The Bugler. Yeah. And on Facebook, Dirk Durham. Yeah. And I don't do Twitter or anything cool like that. It's way too old. You have to have way too many witty things to be putting out there in the world.
Do you have a Marco Polo account where people can
I did have one.
Did you?
What? Marco Polo.
I just heard about it. So
what's funny? Marco Polo?
Some video, I don't know, I'm not going to butcher it. Dirk can probably tell because he had one, but evidently you can send video messages to people, and they can get it and watch a video of you telling them, hey, I'm going to be late for dinner tonight or something.
It does have a voice changer, so there's a little bit of fun to have with that. But I deleted it.
Did it have like
goofy.
The Mike Tyson voice changer?
No, alien voices and deep voice.
So, Instagram, The Bugler, or Facebook. Those are your two kind of platforms. All right. So where can they find this operation, Corey?
This operation meaning the Elk Talk Podcast. So we are on Instagram also, Elk Talk Podcast.
Yep.
We have a website, elktalkpodcast.com. Mm-hmm. And if you have ideas for topics or guests or suggestions for topics or guests, feel free to go to the contact page on elktalkpodcast.com.
Great.
And send us a contact, and we will take it into consideration for sure.
Cool. Well, one last thing is somebody also sent me a message yesterday asking me how they get to your Elk Hunting University course.
Oh. So the University of Elk Hunting is available on Elk101.com. University of Elk Hunting, Elk Hunting University.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Ambidextrous.
Yeah, exactly.
Amphibious is the one.
Exactly. You're getting an education either way. So.
Okay. Where was it? I'm sorry.
Elk101.com. They can go there, click on the link for online course, and they can read all about the benefits, some of the information that's included there, and get kind of an overview or a highlight. But there's, I don't remember, close to 50 chapters. There's so much information on every aspect of elk hunting. And since we're in the mode of discounts and codes, we might as well give them a 20% discount if they use the code ElkTalk. One word.
Are you going to do that?
We might as well.
Oh. I mean, there you have it, folks. We made the sale.
we didn't tell you the fine print, though.
Oh, what's that?
He bills back the 20% to Randy Newberg.
Oh, yeah. Randy is going to cover the 20% for you. So
he's a heck of a guy.
If I get any kinder, I'll die of enlargement of the heart, probably.
Just go to elk101.com, look for online course. And if you do sign up, use the code ElkTalk, save 20%, and
go from there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I saw Mr. Brinker walking around.
I did
here.
too.
Do you think we actually get him?
We need to grab David Brinker and do another episode with him.
All right. We'll get his comments. But Dirk, really appreciate how much information you share with people. I follow your stuff, and it's fun to see that you don't take yourself too seriously. You look like you're having fun, and you share a lot of good information.
I was going to say, Dirk brings personality to our hunting group. So, that's a compliment. Don't glare at me.
Okay, yeah.
He's a character.
Well, thanks for listening, folks. Until the next time, go and do yourself a favor. Maybe shoot your bow. Get ready for season.
Yep, it's coming quickly.
Yeah, it won't be long now.
It won't. We need to come up with a tagline that we can end these with.
Really?
What's your suggestion?
Tagline?
Don't forget your batteries. I don't know.
Don't forget your batteries.
So let's ask the audience.
Yeah.
What should our closing tagline be? Like Brian Call says, be gritty.
Or stay gritty.
Stay gritty. Okay.
Stay gritty. Yeah. We need something cool and motivating to end on. So, yeah, send us your comments. Let us know what you think.
All right. Thanks, folks. Take care.